Deepcool is on a launch spree and the new launch is this LS720 AIO. No, this is not a 720mm cooler. It is a 360mm cooler, but they got carried away with the naming. Innovation bite, I guess? Now Deepcool is doing some black magic with their recent coolers. The AK400 was a bang for the buck. Now this thing, it did impress me. Well, let me get into the details. Now the unboxing experience was okay. The layout is the traditional Deepcool packaging that we see in a lot of their products. Deepcool includes all of the accessories like the mounting hardware, the cables and the paperwork in a small box, and this is quite neat. Now overall the unboxing experience was simple and elegant, and I really cannot say that any user will be disappointed with this. A 7 of 10. Okay, now the cooler looks awesome. The paint job is extremely elegant. Now the radiator is a regular 360mm rad and it has nothing special in it. The fin density is quite high, like we are talking 11 fins per inch. And the third port for filling and burping has been moved to the side of the cooler, which is a staple in every Deepcool AIO we have seen in the recent years. And this is an interesting design decision. Other than that, this is a massive black piece of aluminium with a blocky design. Now the tubes are 410mm long, but keep in mind that smaller rad versions, the 240mm and 120mm coolers have shorter tubes, like they just top out at 310mm. But now the cool thing is that Deepcool has included aligners out of the box. Now using these is optional and you can easily remove them in case they are getting in the way or you just do not like the look. But I like this inclusion. Now let's just talk about the CPU blockhead. Well, it is bigger than the one found on a regular 360mm cooler, and the copper base plate is quite wide too. Now the upcoming sockets like AM5 and other Intel sockets are going to be quite big, and this cooler will have no hiccup in fitting those. The CPU blockhead is painted in silver and I like it. It also has a mirrored RGB finish, and although this is nothing new, it looks dope. Now Deepcool also allows you to change the looks of this CPU blockhead. The top piece comes off and Deepcool has provided you with an acrylic cover. You can attach your custom stickers to it and place it back. Neat. This piece is also rotatable, meaning you can mount the cooler in any direction and still be fine. Now this cooler is not acetic based. Deepcool designs their own pumps much like Cooler Master, and this is their proprietary design. Now Deepcool did mention that this is their 4th gen pump, and I do not know what that is supposed to mean. The company did not reveal any information either. Now the thermal paste comes pre-applied at the base of the cooler, and well, this is not a good thing, to be honest. Like in these pre-applied scenarios, the thermal paste might dry up if this cooler sits on store shelves for a long time. Now the fans that are included with this thing are Deepcool's FC120 fans. Now this fan is already available for purchase in the market, so if you want to go for a push-pull configuration, you'll have no hiccups. Now I mean that an even look just looks much better. Now these fans are fully ARGB, and also the PWM rating has been boosted to a massive level. Like we are talking 20 to 50 RPM. Now the FC120 that is available in the market does not go this high, and I don't think just pushing the PWM value to such a high number will help in cooling in a massive way. Well, unless you're running a really hot running chip like the 12900KS. Now Deepcool is also giving a 5-year warranty on this thing. Like guys, Deepcool is just going all in. Okay, now coming to the score, this cooler does feel well built and it managed to deliver a solid first impression. I am giving this another 8.5 of 10. Now installation is a turf that this cooler amazed me in. Let's talk about this. What is the problem with liquid coolers? Cables. I hate my Galahad 360 just because of the number of cables I have to deal with. But this cooler comes in and changes my entire perspective of liquid coolers. Innovation exists. Now the way Deepcool is doing this is by using an extremely sophisticated daisy-cool design. It took me a few minutes to get my head around it, so here's what they did. The fans have proprietary connectors. These connectors are short and they plug into the ports jaldily built into each fan. The CPU blockhead has also one such port that goes into one of the fans. This just slashes the cable clutter by a huge margin. You just have one 3-pin ARGB header and one 4-pin PWM header to plug in. Man, life is as easy as air coolers. Also, the RGB on this thing comes on even if you do not plug in the 3-pin ARGB header. Now I cannot say that this is a premium feature. Instead, it is a budget option and is seen in some really budget coolers like my Thermaltake UX200 had this, which is like a cheap $30 air cooler. But the inclusion of this feature will ensure that the RGB comes on even if your motherboard does not have an ARGB header. Now without the RGB header, this cooler does a rainbow all of the time, so people who do not like RGB in their builds will be annoyed. Okay, now coming to the installation procedure, I like the simplicity here. Deepcool has reduced the number of parts required cleverly. Now almost every cooler that you will come across will include a backplate on which it will add some screws and washers, then some spacers, over which a CPU blockhead goes on, and then it will be secured by some screws. The process is long and complicated. Deepcool walks you around that problem by including a ready-made backplate and a screw cum spacer. Now this is clever, I have to admit, and over this, the CPU blockhead is secured by 4 spring-loaded screws. Overall, I like every aspect of the installation process. And now I know these numbers are hard to score as they go up, but this thing deserves a 9 of 10. Okay, looks. What do I have to say? This cooler looks really elegant. Now part of this is because of the very elegant paint job and the silver blockhead and the mirror finish on top of it. The RGB on this thing is sweet and the CPU blockhead looks interesting as well. I mean, I like it. Well, I really think that this is one of the best looking AIOs, at least at this price point. But the downside is that this thing is available only in black. Now come on now guys, white always makes things look so much better. Now coming to the score, and 8 of 10. Okay, now it is time to start thermal testing this thing. So let us have a look at our test bench. We will be using an open air bench. We're using the Ryzen 5 3600 for stress testing purposes, and the motherboard it sits on is the ASRock B453 Legend. Windows will be loaded off of an Crucial MX500 SSD, and the graphics card that we're using is the MSI GTX 1650 Ventus XS OC. Now let us get into the thermal results. Well, now I have high hopes for this cooler and it did not disappoint me. While running the Cinebench R23 stress test for 10 minutes, the numbers are quite acceptable for a 360mm radiator, and this cooler also scales well in higher frequencies with higher power outputs. The results paint a similar idea across blended test suite and the W Prime 1024M benchmark. Now when compared to my Galahad 360, I can easily see this cooler beaten by a soft margin. Impressive. Now the Galahad is also a costlier AIO, like it comes in at around $160 while this thing is available for $140. Now I have to say that the thermal test results are on point, an 8 of 10. Now let us talk about the fans. Well, they are very sturdily built. Deepcool has also included thick rubber pads in every corner to prevent vibrations while this fan is rotating. I mean, you need such protection measures if you're making a fan turn 20 to 50 times a minute. Now this fan has a massive RPM rating, but in real life those extra rotations do not cause any temperature difference. I mean, yes, you have a slight delta, but well, it is not justifiable. Now these fans have a sweet RGB. Now I cannot say that this is the brightest I've seen in any liquid cooler, but well, it looks quite good. Also, the FC120 fans is available to purchase for loose in some markets, so if you're going for a push-pull configuration, you can go for an even look. But I have to say that these fans are quiet. Just listen to them yourself. Overall, quite impressive, a 7.5 of 10. Okay, now this cooler will sell for $140 in the US. It has just recently launched and Indian retailers still have not listed it. Now looking at the market trends, I think that this cooler will be priced below 10,000 rupees. Now as you saw earlier, this cooler beats the Galahad by a small margin. Now the Galahad is one of the best options on the market, and since this cooler beats it while also costing lesser than this, you can assume that this cooler packs some heat while costing okay. Now I cannot say that 360mm liquid coolers are value for money, because there are just a few very expensive chips in the market that can completely utilize their full power. But still, looking at the competition, this thing is above average in terms of value. I'm giving this a 7.5 of 10. Okay, that wraps it. This is another solid product from Deepcool, and rumor has it that they are working on some more high-end coolers that are coming out very soon. Also, let us have a look at the score. A 7.92. This cooler is getting the Cybertech Top Gold award. Pretty well deserved. If you want to check out Deepcool's last cooler, go check out this AK400 review over here. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more.